Hello, good morning on April the 9th, first day. In Edinburgh, the weather is gloomy today, but it's getting warmer, and I think everyone can feel that the spring is fully on her way. And I say on her way because in the country where I come from, in my mother tongue, the spring is a woman. In Polish language, every noun has a gender, and traditionally, the not only in the language but also in the folklore or in the images or in the art, seasons were portrayed um, as women. And I wonder how this metaphor of a spring or a season as a woman or feminine energy resonates with you. My name is Agnes Yasmin. Welcome to my Facebook profile. This is Empowerment Through Creative Process profile, really, that I create here on Facebook. There is a specific page dedicated to my coaching. However, I am still working on developing it as well as my website. I've started working on this method. I'm on now for I would say quite many years ago, really. But in order to offer it to a community, both online and in person, it took a more specific work, because obviously when you develop the method, that is what you bring, what the method is about, but to ground the work in, let's say, on the ground level, to put it on the ground level, we need to adhere to legal systems. We need to find the persons who would like to work with us. We need to learn the formal stuff as well and organize practicalities. And the journey is always revealing what else we need to learn, what else we need to perhaps purchase, what we need to improve, and so on. And it's a fascinating and sometimes tough journey when you start your own venture, your own enterprise, your own adventure, your own business, your own offer. You are really changing your life, because you're bringing new energy into your life, something that you haven't done before in that shape. You bring together all your assets and resources, and also obviously all of yourselves, also your weak points. So you always work with yourself when you start an enterprise or your business. But I would say that people who work on other goals not related to self-employment or running your own company or hiring other people also bring all of themselves into every goal that they pursue. That's just natural. And even if we try very hard to adjust ourselves to the norms and rules and what should look like in our life, in our professional life and private life, there will be hopefully always some little pieces of ourselves that stay natural, in a way wild, and uh, not socialized, spontaneous, joyful. There would be a room for a surprise. There would be a room for flexibility. There will be a room for our dreams. There will be a room for bringing our natural talents into the roles that we play. If we feel stressed, if we feel very tired, if we feel that things are going not only wrong direction, but sometimes maybe even out of control, that means probably and that there were some areas in our life that were calling for attention for a while, or perhaps we really didn't have a possibility to attend to them because the pressure was elsewhere, be it in our family, be it to do with the job market, be it to do with life transitions, with health, with loss, perhaps other events, some disappointments. The weight of different events in our lives have different consequences for individual people depending on their situation in life, their health level, their support network, their age, and other characteristics. Some of those characteristics will be connected with gender. And maybe that live video sounds very serious, especially for Facebook, but since I've started showing my method, empowerment through creative process, on Facebook only, when I've started creating it and offering it, I want to stay here and I will stay here. However, I would like to let you know that now I'm also on LinkedIn and more live videos will be happening over there. But I'm gonna stay here, and as I have announced, I think, was it 2 days ago? There is a new season of live videos starting on Wednesday, 15th of April, in a few days, and we will be continuing our journey of empowerment through creative process together. It might be the last journey on Facebook this year, I haven't decided yet. However, for sure there will be live videos over the summer in LinkedIn, and if you would like to connect with me in there in order to stay in the loop, to know what is happening or what is offered, connect with me there. It's highly recommended. However, I will be still coming here on Facebook as well. I really value the contributions that people bring here. I really value people who come over to watch me live, who are working on their goals, and I wouldn't like to withdraw that offer from people who find it on Facebook. For myself, I come from the generation of people when social media was almost not existent, and when it was coming into my life, I was already working as a professional in Poland in higher education and European Union projects at the universities and educational institutions in, I think, 3 or 4 cities and towns. And at the same time, I was also connected with Jagiellonian University when I was studying gender politics in Polish language, and that was my post-diploma. So actually I didn't need any of LinkedIn or Facebook in order to create my career. Now we have moved on, the world has moved on, the pandemic has also changed a lot, also for organizations and institutions. But for individuals, the pandemic brought that change that many people now work from home or from the city, from co-working spaces. So actually the job market in this way has changed a lot, and that has affected our lifestyles, but I think also has opened new opportunities. And I think that change, moving more and more into online world, is a trend that is global. It used to be reserved for so-called nomads, traveling nomads. Many young people would take their laptop and work remotely for global employers and travel at the same time, sometimes even with kids if they were young parents. And for the rest of us who were a bit older, I think that change was really tricky because we didn't grow up with social media, we didn't grow up with internet, we didn't grow up with any of that, not with mobile phones. When I was young, if I wanted to see a friend, I would just go and knock on the doors and ask their mom or dad if this and that is at home because I have a free afternoon and we're gonna be plotting some new adventures together. So, yes, the world has changed a lot. I don't know when it has happened, but now we are moving more and more online, and I think it's also great. It brings great opportunities for connecting with people from all over the world. And I would like to take that opportunity that I come here today, also spontaneously, um, to say thank you to all my new friends on Facebook for joining me. I'm really happy that I have made so many new connections recently. I aim over time for Facebook to be a platform for empowerment through creative process to connect people who work on their goals from all over the world. And as I am of Polish nationality but living in Scotland and settled in Scotland, and this is my primary home here, but I travel quite a lot because I love travel. And over many, many years of studying, working, traveling, healing, and other things that I was doing in my life, art, for example, dance theater, and other stuff, I've met people from many different backgrounds, of many different nationalities, different abilities, different specifications, let's call it like that. We are not robots, we are humans, but we fall into many different categories that in a way write our destiny, which I am a rebel about. I've always been a rebel since I was little. I've always challenged the norms and rules, and I was asking questions. And I remember, for example, in my primary school when I was 9 years old or 10 years old, perhaps, maybe 11. I went to a very small primary school. Some people would say I was privileged because I was living in the countryside, and in my primary school there were together maybe 160 children. So in my class there was maybe 20 of us, and there was another class of children at the same age, and there were also maybe 20 of them. That was not a private school, it was a public school. It was just a very tiny rural place that exists on the map, obviously, although some children travel to that school from places that I don't think even exist on the map nowadays. So that was a very tiny place, and obviously me as a little girl growing up in a country that was going through economic transformation and political transformation, I was still a very small child, still in a nursery, when solidarity has won, the people's movement has won, and the communist has finished. And there was a tremendous change for Eastern Europe, but I can mostly tell about what was happening in Polish countryside where I lived until I was 18. And the level of unemployment was tremendous. When I was finishing my high school, many of my friends from school straight away went abroad for work, also to the UK, but also to Germany, Netherlands, Italy, France, Spain. And a few years later, just a few years later, none of my friends were going to Spain or Italy anymore because 2008 crisis has hit Europe and the world, the economic crisis. And then I remember when I have arrived in the UK, and my English wasn't really great It was basic. I had very good English teacher at school, but it was many years before I have arrived, and I had professional jobs in Scotland, in Poland, in Polish language. So when I've arrived in Scotland in 2013 in January, only with a rucksack and a credit card that was issued in Poland by a French bank, which not many Polish people knew that that bank actually belongs to France, not Poland. So I've arrived with a credit card in Scotland, and I knew that I had 10,000 zloty on it to use, which equaled £2,000. It was January. What I didn't know was that January is not the best time to look for a job in Scotland. I was looking for a job, I was aiming to find a job in hospitality because I had basic English only, and I didn't plan I'm gonna stay in Scotland. It was supposed to be for half a year to repair my budget. So this is how my new adventure has started. It was very difficult. I was only 27. I've decided once more to take the challenge. I really was big on remaining independent, and not only from a marriage or from somebody's support, like parents or grandparents. A lot of my granny wouldn't be able to support me. She didn't have much money because she came from rural Poland and she never worked professionally, or she never worked in a formal setting. She ran a farm. And when my grandfather and her husband has died in a tragic accident, all she had was, thanks Goddess and thanks God, the money from his work from that would be normally for him for his retirement. But the Polish law and the company that he worked for, which was a public company, allowed people, women who were widowed. I don't know if that would work if she divorced him, but it was out of the question because my grandmother didn't receive such an education. She wouldn't be able even if she wanted to divorce him. So I come from a place in the world and in Poland where the job market, the education, the possibilities for women and men were very different back then when I was born in the 80s, but also before then for my grandmother who was born in the 40s during the war, the Second World War, and for my other grandmother who was born in the 20s, so just after Poland gained independence after 120 years of being out of the map, the world map. So the possibilities for women and men were very, very different for different times within history, but also within different regions even of the same country. And at the beginning when I've arrived in Scotland, apart from challenges, there was also a feeling of a fresh air, because I find Scotland and the UK in general a much less patriarchal country than Poland. And as a woman, I felt better here. I felt that I can be more myself. That's not so much required from me on that feminine norms side. So, for example, in Poland, many professional women wear makeup to work and high heels. Example, my friend from my brother's high school, we've known each other for many years. She used to work for the World Bank in Warsaw when she was in her 20s. And I remember when she shared with me that it was required of women to wear to work high heels. It was required by the World Bank with its quarters in Warsaw. And that was, I think, 15 years ago, maybe? That's not a long time ago. I don't know how it is now, but I've noticed that in Scotland nowadays, and also when I've arrived here, how many years ago? 13 years ago. Professional women very often wear to work and still wear to work sneakers. Just like ordinary, comfortable, sporty looking shoes. Maybe some of them changed them into other shoes at office. I don't remember really. When I was working in professional jobs in Scotland, I wasn't required to wear heels, and I think it wouldn't be even appropriate because it was community based work, so not an office type. But as far as I can see, even big corporations in Scotland don't have a problem with women not wearing high heels to work. But I would be very curious to hear your experiences about it. I was really shocked when my friend has shared that information with me in Poland many years ago. I was absolutely shocked. And many Polish women actually quite like that, I would say. There are some who wouldn't like that, but they didn't have a choice if they wanted to work for that employer, and of course it offered really good salaries. My adventure with high heels has finished very quickly, very soon after it has started, because when I was a student and I was working at the same time, I was studying full time and working sometimes at night to support my studies, sometimes uh, always during holidays and stuff. So it's always take care of my budget and over the summer plan for the next academic year and to save money for it. But some other of my friends also did that. Some had the possibility to go abroad to work over the summer. They would have extra money then for the term at the university. I didn't have the money to go abroad at that point, and when I was going abroad, it was a credit card that I took, not savings. I wasn't able to save in Poland. I wasn't able to save for a mortgage in Poland. I worked at really good institutions. The salaries were very little. And as a young person, I was also quite desperate, I would say. And I was agreeing sometimes for not favor some conditions of employment. For example, I would wait for my contract to be signed for a few months and I would still work. And make the project happening from the ground up. And I would be paid after a few months. And that was the main reason why I've left. I couldn't afford anymore not to know when will my next salary arrive. And if you worked for such institutions, public institutions, just like me in Poland, or you still do, then you know that that's the case. And you also know that people very rarely speak about it in a public setting because they're afraid of losing what they have. And perhaps sometimes also they feel ashamed. But I think this is not their fault. When we look at the history and how things look like nowadays, I think at some point we need to realize that lack of justice doesn't come from a fault of individual people. And it might sound like I'm a very unsuccessful and unhappy person. it's not the case. It might sound like I'm complaining. That's also not the case because after all, I think I've made the right choices. And I'm happy with my choices, and I'm happy with the cost of them and the consequences that I took. What I've learned, who I've met in my journey so far, and everything that I had the opportunity to experience, to learn, and to give was really important to me. And now that I have turned 40, I'm feeling actually much calmer, much happier, and much more confident. I must say that having that experience of being for 21 years responsible for myself has taught me a lot, and I'm happy with what I've done with my life. And when I observe other people, both men and women, I notice that the longer they stay with their parents, or the longer they rely solely on their partner for their safety, psychological and economic safety, over time that doesn't pay back. It's more and more difficult over time to learn that self-reliance, to build your inner and outer resources if you, let's use that metaphor, stay in a nest for too long. And many parents have that problem to kind of kick out their young ones from the nest. And that is a very interesting topic of work. Going into the world as a young adult, but also letting your children to go into the world when they have grown up, and not to keep them so close to you because of the fear of what you will have to face when they leave your life, your own path. Because being a parent is just part of it, not all of it. And being a child, a grown-up child, an adult child, is also only a part of your own experience. So I think in every role actually in our life, doesn't matter what it is, that role, if it takes the majority of our time, of our energy, of our focus, eventually will consume us, will consume that energy and focus entirely, and we might end up feeling burnout. However, if we maintain a good equilibrium of balance between different areas of our life, if we learn how to prioritize, but also if we will know what are our values, what is really important to us, what we really want, we will be putting an more or less, I'll try to do it on a camera, an equal amount of energy into all of those areas. And we will be looking at our sleep, our diet, our health, our relationships, private and professional life, our work, our passion, our hobbies, and then also who we are, our identity, and how we can express it in every area of that life. And now I'm going to do something that's maybe going to be seen as a little bit controversial. I've put some oil on my hair yesterday. I sometimes do it for the night. I didn't wash them yet. You see, we women have that funny thing about our looks, and that we borrow from the culture. We still do it. I don't think it really serves us. I must say, challenging it is quite fun. I've never been paying too much attention to looking in a particular way, apart from feeling comfortable and professional enough and appropriate for the role I was performing. And I felt good about it. Now I've reached my 40, and I must say I'm a bit jealous. I'm a bit jealous of the young women who have time to dress up. I'm a bit jealous about older women who make time to dress up. I'm a bit jealous about women at my own age who have all of those skills of dressing up and making a makeup and everything else. And I want to say that if you watching me here and you are a woman who lives in Edinburgh and you work with the with makeup or with hairdressing, but as a whole, to kind of create an image of a person, and you create a person to align their image with their message, please contact me if you would like to work on an exchange, and in exchange for helping with my professional brand empowerment through creative process coach image, I can help you with work on your goals, and we will just arrange this as a economic exchange without the use of money. Many people nowadays already embrace that idea and name it. I don't know what is that current name of it, an exchange that doesn't use the money, but in the countryside where I come from, that was normal. Because, for example, my grandmother, I guess sometimes, I don't know if always, because obviously she was running a household, and in a farm you always have something to sell. You have animals to sell, you have eggs to sell, even you have crop to sell, you have machinery for the fields to sell and buy, and then you need to buy stuff for yourself and for your family. So you basically make a living from that farm. And all the money that grandfather was making, who was working in her husband in the public railway company, back then was public, later on it was privatized. I think during that time when he actually has died of during that economic transformation of my country. So, coming from that little countryside, I'm very down to earth, and knowing a little bit about the history, local history, history of the region, history of my nation, history of Europe and the world, not much, a little bit, I think I have remained quite optimistic, quite open-minded, and very much down to earth. And that exchange between people, that community support, is something that I have in my blood. On another side of my family, from my mother's side, the story is a bit different. I will now write, if you follow me, you know it already, I now work on a book about the life of my great-great-grandmother, who was born in 1830s. Beginning of 1830s, so 200 years ago nearly, and she lived until 1918, so a very long time for that period in the history, where many women and men died already in their early 40s. She lived until her mid-80s. She had 3 husbands and 10 children who have survived. As far as I remember now, I need to double check the data that I have access to. 2 of her children didn't survive. They died when they were little, in their infancy. So I gave a title, Goals, to this live video, but that was just me coming over saying hello. Thank you for being here with me. There will be still live videos happening in the summer, and before I will move fully to LinkedIn, there is season 2026 summer of our next live videos on Wednesdays evenings. I don't know if I have announced the time yet. If I thought about the time, will it be 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. UK time? If you are here with me, if you watch this to this point, I'll give you a possibility if you would like that. If you really would like to join me live on Wednesdays and you are here watching this, if you write in the comment which time would work best for you, I will accommodate my diary, because on Wednesday evenings I have already decided that's gonna be the time for those live videos. Summer 2026 Empowerment Through Creative Process with Agnieszka Jesseman here on my Facebook profile. So just let me know in a comment which time exactly would work for you on Wednesday. And if you are interested in following what I do and my offerings, now there's gonna be workshop for women only happening in person in Edinburgh please connect with me on LinkedIn to hear more about it. I will not announce the details of it on Facebook, but if you are interested in joining that group for women under my facilitation, women who work on their professional and private goals, we will be having that workshop in person in a very beautiful location, a very special location, and I will announce the details on LinkedIn. So please, if you would like to join me in that professional setting, connect with me over there. There will be still also offerings on Facebook for online workshops over the next months and years. And that's everything for today. Today is Thursday. My weekend has started, as you can already see that I'm in a completely different energy and zone. I am now at my home. So hopefully the quality of the live video is much better. I think it is. I apologize for the background noise in the last live video 2 days ago. I was in a public space and sometimes it's really difficult to find a quiet spot. However, I was trying very hard to project my voice loud so everyone can hear me. And I'll say once more, if you are in Edinburgh and if you are a woman and if you run like a image business, like helping people with makeup or hair or dressing up and stuff for their brand, for photos, for videos and so on, and if you'd like to make that economic exchange where I offer you coaching and you offer me your expertise in this regard, please let me know, because that's one of my goals for 2026, to work on my professional image. So I just started feeling a bit jealous about other women who are really good at doing it, and I don't know which color would suit me yet, but I'm thinking I'll try that. I found one of my favorite brands, which I will not reveal what it is. One of my favorite brands has now a beautiful range of colorful jackets, like, you know, for the office, like colorful, like for the artist, proper one. And my plan is to buy them all. So hopefully you will see my transformation, you will follow that transformation. I would really like to share it. You can let me know what you think. Thank you so much, especially to people who were following me here on Facebook, to people who were supporting me by leaving a comment, a thumb up, a heart, who were coming live to my live videos. It was really supportive for me to have that, as when I've started 2 years ago, the first live videos were in Polish language, and then gradually I moved to English, not because although I still learn English, but not because of my English, but because of my public speaking skills online. I had to learn them really. Coming live on Facebook, as easy as it might look like, it's not easy when you start. And if you think about doing the same, I would recommend to start with the setting for friends only, because it can be a bit scary sometimes, it can be a bit stressful. Over time you will stop feeling stressed about it, you realize there's nothing to worry about, it's quite easy. Every skill that we have we can master. We'll never be perfect at it, we don't have to be perfect at it. In order to keep on going, in order to get better, in order to learn, to offer, we don't have to be perfect. And to me, coming here without all of that glamour, glamour, shiny stuff that I want to learn how to do, appreciate glamour and shiny stuff. I really do. I like it. I think it's quite luxurious, but I like luxury, so I'm gonna do it. But coming here without it was also at the beginning challenging, and then it has stopped being challenging. So I expect that the same thing to happen when I will hopefully, you know, uh, show another possibility of presenting myself online. Yes, that's everything for today. That title was really cheeky, mischievous, and misguiding. I'm sorry about that. I hope that you have enjoyed my life today. 40 minutes, really long. Wishing you a wonderful weekend once it comes for you. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with you all once more during our empowerment through creative process journey summer 2026 term from 15th of April till mid-June. Did I say last live video? I think 21st. 21st? Let me check. Did I say 21st in last video? On Wednesdays from 15th of April 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're gonna finish, I think. I'm gonna stretch myself on 24th June. 24th. So it's gonna be 10 meetings in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11. Let me double check. I'm sorry, I'm gonna quickly check that. We're starting on the 15th on Wednesday evening. If there is a particular time, 6, 7, 8 p.m., there is a little gift for you. If you leave it in a comment, I will accommodate myself to that. I'm able to do it because I am dedicating evenings on Wednesdays to this. And every live video will be between half an hour to an hour. There will be meditations, there will be tools, there will be practices, there will be full range of empowerment through creative process methods that I use in the groups online and in person, and I bring them here for free for everyone who would like to get to know what the work is about, but also take their goals further using that method, perhaps other methods as well. So I'm gonna just check one more time. It's 3 meetings in April and 4 in May. That's 7 together. And then we have 4 meetings in June, so that's 14 meetings. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Too much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4, 8, 11. 11 is good. 11 meetings. 11 meetings with me, Agnieszka Jasmin, on Wednesday evenings. Empowerment through creative process to help people to take their goals a bit further in their life, to help you, to support you. If you've been struggling with taking your goal further, if you've been struggling with, for example, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, lack of some kind of resources, although I assure you, you have other ones and you can transfer them. If you've been suffering from procrastination, if you've been worrying about the future, if you've been taking too much on your shoulders, if you've been feeling too stressed, if you had problems with your mental health, I've also had them in the past, and I think a mental health and physical health, first of all, they're connected, and second of all, they are fluid. They are not to do only with an individual, it is also to do with the environment, with the economic situation, with the political situation, with the pandemics and what's after pandemics. And our individual private lives are aimed in our communities and what is happening around us. Even weather affects us, and we, as we know nowadays, as humans, also affect the weather. We have global warming, we have climate change, and we have lots of stuff to work on and to teach the further generations to take over. So, yes, personal goals are always connected with where we are in life, with our resources, with our skills, with our confidence, with our time, with our support, and with what's happening in a local community and global community, and even the weather. Professional goals, working on them very often have additional net of support, but also limits coming from the organizational setting. So depending on who we work for, or if we work for ourselves as well, we follow kind of a prescribed, ready to use net. It's of course a metaphor. We use the resources that have been built by the generations who were here before us. And we might like what we have there for us to use and the structure that we need to, maybe we don't need to, I don't know, but that we are supposed to follow, to obey, to change, to transform, but also to find our place within them in order to be part of that structure. So there is a choice there. And that choice is a very important part of working on our goals. We're making choices every day, both in private and professional life. But talking about professional life, when many people feel sometimes angry or depressed, or they feel like they don't have any other choice, it's not true. I would say that you don't have other choice. You need to find it. Finding another choice is a journey. Working with your grief, anger, fear, difficult situations that feel like too much sometimes is finding a different choice. And sometimes it takes days, nights when you don't sleep, for example, and you worry, weeks, months, years, many years. And like I said, our individual lives are never disconnected from a bigger picture. And I think this background that I have in pedagogy, an old school of pedagogy, traditional Polish pedagogues, taught at the university that is set in Gdańsk, the city of solidarity. And coming from that little countryside gives me a strong foundation in my work with people that is deeply rooted in humanities and seeing another person as part of their local and global community, which means that blaming an individual, seeing her or him as weak or a failure or not good enough or whatever else he or she could be seen as or was seen as or has experienced because of some particular features that don't go into the frame of what is normal, beautiful, amazing, how it should be, middle class, white middle class, English white middle class. I'm being a bit maybe rude, I don't know, but I allow myself to be that. Like I've said in my previous live videos, that is a very, very, very small box. And if we stay open-minded, in a way, despite the difficult stuff that happens in life, because it's part of life, despite the difficult stuff, loss, for example, one of them. It could be a loss of a person, it could be a loss of health, it could be a loss of hope, for very, very practical reasons. For example, not being able to support your child the way you would like to. Because, for example, you have a disability or your child has a disability and you don't have enough money to support her or him. Maybe you cannot afford a treatment for cancer that is offered abroad. Maybe it's not your cancer, maybe it's an illness that has started somebody else in your family, your mother, your father, your wife, your husband, your child, and you cannot afford the best quality treatment for it. And would a mental health specialist or psychiatrist or psychotherapist or a coach be able to help you with it? Not necessarily. However, it is important to have support in your life, and sometimes that support is not available from the closest people in your family, sometimes because they are too much together, entangled in a difficult situation. Sometimes it's easier to receive that support and ask for this support from someone who is not part of your family, because they have more distance, and also because you feel more in control, because you choose when you're gonna see that person, who that person's gonna be, how much you are paying for it, and if you're finishing this professional relationship with a therapist, coach, or a facilitator. They feel more like it's within your hands, within your control. Whereas if you turn for support with somebody close to you, like a friend, your partner, family member, the dynamic of a relationship on a private ground is very, very different. It may be very fruitful, but during challenging times, that also puts a stretch on that relationship. When many people, when they face something very difficult, they don't want to even tell their close friends, because they don't want that event or that situation that's difficult to them to affect that relationship. It will affect it anyway, because it affects you, and you will not emerge on another side of it being the same person. It's not possible. And that's also part of life. That difficult situations, difficult events change us, and there's no coming back. If we don't go fully through that change, there's no possibility of a new phase for us. There's no possibility of, in a way, a rebirth. We need to go fully through that painful loss, not only of a, for example, job or health or relationship or a person if they died, for example, or our health. These are examples of what we might lose, what other people sometimes lose, what ultimately we all lose. We all, at the end, lose health and life. That happens to everyone at some point. It's not possible to avoid it. And that loss during our lifetime affects everything in our life, including our identity. If it doesn't, then it would mean that we live on a very surface of things without allowing ourselves to be touched by experience of being alive on this planet. Might sound very spiritual. It is spiritual. I think being alive is a spiritual experience for everyone. It doesn't matter if you have any beliefs or you follow any religion or you follow some meditation teachings. You are a spiritual person as much as your grandmother and grandfather were, and their parents and grandparents, and as much as everyone around you. It's not possible not to be spiritual. That's everything for today. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy your weekend when it comes, and I'll see you on Wednesday evening. Goodbye now. See you later.